Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Rodeo Time, the podcast. We've got a very special episode today. We got our man, Reece Howden. He is an Olympian. We're going to hear his story. We're going to talk about riding bulls, punching fools, and hitting the slopes of an Olympic athlete, all the way from Canada. A lot of you guys ask, hey, can we come from out of country? Absolutely. I mean, we've got interns from all over. Right now, we've got 10 interns, double digits. Canada, Maryland, Nebraska, Missouri, Tennessee, North Carolina, California, Georgia, and
Nebraska.
Montana. 10 of y'all, and none of them are from Texas. So people come from all over. I think you're the first international intern we've had.
Sweet.
How's that feel?
Feels great.
Were you blown away that you got selected, or were you just not surprised?
I was super stoked. I don't know, I was talking with Willie when we were talking about getting selected and stuff, and he's like, when he put in his video, he's like, yeah, man, I just had a good feeling. Good feeling, right?
You did?
I did too, and so did Willie. That's what he was saying. And I had a good feeling, and he got back to me, and worked out.
Well, as Willie would say, you passed the vibe check.
You did.
You know, and
not all the guys pass the vibe check. They send in.
You
videos.
don't have to be an Olympian to get on the roster here.
Nah.
You know, like Willie was a chicken farmer. No offense, Willie.
Not an Olympian. Pretty far from it.
He was literally holding a chicken in his video. I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. You were wearing coveralls.
Hey, it's my uniform.
But you did that one, then you did a serious one, right?
I did a serious one in the chicken barn. My funny one was like just snap stories that I had from my friends and put a little montage.
Who watched it that would have been Donnie, huh?
That watched the montage one?
Well, that watched any of them and
I
then
guess
showed
so,
them to me. I think it would have been Donnie running Rodeo Time at the time.
But I replied to your main account you were like, we need someone to edit, and then I sent you the one. I just sat.
Oh, so I'm responsible.
Yeah.
For bringing you in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You look really good today with that hat and the shirt.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
So yeah, the intern program, it's really, it comes down to the video. So I guess you were on the text.
Yeah, I was on the text deal, and I was just actually I think I was talking with one of these guys, but I was breaking it down, I was thinking what do you think the numbers are on the people that get on the text line, watch that video, and the numbers that actually send in that video, actually send the video into the account. It's got to be.
I'll say probably about 15% of the people that I send out the video to watch it.
Yeah.
So I send the video to a large group of people that have texted me the number. Just real quick, text the word intern to this phone number. I'm going to give you a phone number. Text the word intern, INTERN, to 940-353-0890. You text the word intern, and I'm not gonna necessarily send it right away, but when we need an intern, I'll send you the info on it. What I normally do is I make an unlisted YouTube video, and I'll send out info on what the opportunity is. In Willie's case, we needed someone to edit. In Gabe's case, we needed someone to work on the warehouse floor. And then we decided we've got an open bunkhouse. We don't necessarily need a lot of extra help right now, so we decided to do some short-term internships. And so I sent out a text, and I made an unlisted YouTube video. And what Reece, he's bringing up a really good point. I know how many people I sent it to, and then it shows me how many views the unlisted video has. And about 15% of the people that I send the video out actually watch it. And then an even smaller percentage actually send in videos. I would say maybe 5% of those 15%. So while there are a lot of people interested, if you can shine in your video, then you've got a decent chance of making the top 10. Then Willie will bring me the top 5 or 10. And then occasionally he'll just have one stand out where he's just like, hey, you got to look at this guy. And that's kind of how this was, you and I'd sent out the deal and we hadn't really talked about it for 3 or 4 days. I was kind of letting everybody get a chance to send in videos, and then you were like, hey, we got to check out this Reece guy. So, but anyway, I interrupted you. You were talking about how many people actually do it.
Well, you gave me the numbers there for the most part, but yeah, it's not like those, guys that didn't send in stuff, didn't want to go, or girls. You just got to do it.
Right.
Yeah. If there's after meeting all you guys here and stuff, there is, don't worry about looking like an idiot on your video. Just be truthful and
because there's a bunch of idiots here.
Yeah.
You'll fit right in. You'll fit right in.
Yeah, dude, don't worry. You're not gonna be the dumbest guy here.
Wait till you meet this Dale Brisby guy.
If you want to come, you just if you want to come, you just gotta just do it.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really big, and this is probably why we get such a small percentage, is timing in someone's life. When they send that text, they might be ready to be an intern right then. Well, we may not need an intern for 6 more months. Well, then maybe they've got a new job, they've got a new girlfriend, maybe they're having to help mom and dad pay bills or whatever. Something, just the timing of their life didn't line up right. For you, for instance, it's summertime, you're not doing a lot of skiing right now. It's a short-term internship, and so the synergy was there for both of us. And so the timing was right.
Yeah.
And so that's big, is being ready. Who was it? Did you have to apply a couple of times?
Yeah. I sent from January to March. I sent in probably 4 videos.
Yeah.
Videos.
So you were kind of persistent, and then we finally needed one. Gabe sent in videos for a year. I want to say he sent in either 3 or 4 different videos and was persistent. And each video, you could tell, he's still just as interested as he was the first time. He hadn't taken it personal that he didn't get it the first time. And then finally, kind of came along. And so it's funny, I'll get all these questions on how to get started ranching. And man, just look at the intern program. If you are as persistent with your local ranch about working for them for free as some of these interns are that came to work here, then it'll be a breeze for you to get a job, And I'm not saying there's a difference in being like spamming, and just being persistent, because your local rancher, he's busy, and so you might hit him on a Monday afternoon when he needs so much help, he doesn't have time to think about needing help.
Yeah.
And so, whereas if you hit him at the right time on a Tuesday evening where he's caught up and he can think about it, and you break down hey, I'm willing to work for you for free and do the jobs that are not fun for free in exchange for this knowledge on the industry. Well, then all of a sudden he's going to be like, sounds like a pretty good deal. Sounds like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Because for him, that knowledge is, people like to help, a humble, hardworking individual who's eager to learn. You'll find on any ranch, I was at a ranch recently, and some guys from a major packing plant came in, and we were flanking calves, and I just helped them, and they were like, man, we were so surprised at how kind everyone was, even though we knew nothing. And I was like, yeah, y'all were just kind, humble dudes. Just because you've never flanked a calf, that doesn't mean, and all these cowboys, of course they're willing to help you. You know what I mean? They're not, when you get met with resistance, it's either going to be that person is just maybe a unique individual who's not fun to be around, or maybe you are acting like you wrote the book. Nobody wants to help somebody like that. No. Don't act like you don't have anything to prove, And the moment you let that guard down, that's when you really start to learn anyway. So why not just let it down, be vulnerable, be okay with saying the words, I don't know, and then you can learn from there. Man, this intro, we are getting into it already.
Yeah, we are. This is another podcast.
It's a whole nother podcast. We do that sometimes. We'll go on and on in the intro, but we do the intro at the end of the podcast just so I can tell you what you're in for. And what you're in for is an Olympian's story. and some of the similarities between being an Olympic athlete and being a rodeo cowboy. And then we get to hear some life advice from Willie.
Yep.
It's always the most epic. Check out, we don't do a lot of ads on the podcast. Sometimes I'll plug a sponsor, but we don't do a lot of mid-roll. Very rarely, actually. Maybe 2 podcasts out of 100 have we done like mid-roll.
I don't think I've ever heard any from.
Like I think 1 or 2 times I've recorded a thing. Mm-hmm. But so if you don't mind, I'm just going to share with you. We've got a ton of new styles coming out on dalebrisby.com. I'm wearing a new cap, a new shirt. They're not available yet, but they're coming soon to dalebrisby.com. At least a dozen new caps over the next few months, at least a dozen new shirts over the next few months. So check that out. Please text 940-353-0890, and we will keep you in the know on all things Dale wear, on all things intern. We'll even update you on when the podcasts are coming out. But yeah, Dale wear is what makes this machine go round. It's what allows us the opportunity to bring in interns and hire people. We've got a great crew here at the Dale Warehouse. The other thing that helps it go around are our 4 major sponsors, really 5 of them. We've got Can-Am side-by-sides, just got a new Commander in, and Total Feeds, powering Boone. He's a 22-year-old bronc, thanks to Total Feeds. American Hat, it's the one you want to hawk down and put that little crinkle in your ear. You ever pull it down that far, Willie, where it bends your ear a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
That's when it's about to get Western. And last but not least, rock and roll denim, Reflex. That way when you're going 90, you can really get that leg up. 5th, Excalibur containers. It's what the interns stay in. It's what you're staying in.
Yeah.
That's a cozy spot, isn't it?
Oh, they're great. They're super nice.
Does it get cool enough at night?
It's been perfect, yeah. Good.
It's crazy how hot it gets here, but that little bitty container it's like a little ice box.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. No, I'm really liking it. It's good.
Yeah, being from Canada, you're not used to this heat.
Yeah. It's been tough, but
you haven't complained about it though.
No, I'm not afraid to sweat.
Cole came down from Montana and he complains a lot about the heat. He's just kind of looking over this creepy mustache.
I'm cutting it off.
Oh, okay. You're cutting off the mustache? He edits the podcast, so I thought he was going to say he's going to cut off. He's going to edit out the part where I make fun of him.
He could do both.
All right. Well, thanks for enjoying this extended intro. That's a bonus clip for you guys. That's not going to cost you extra. Free content for all, for the family. And now on to the podcast. There it is, Willie. Oh, yeah. I love this intro music. It makes me so happy.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen, Rodeo Time Podcast. We are in the Dale Warehouse. I got Willie Wardle on the sound mixing board. Give us a sound effect since you're running the mixing board. Come on.
I've never heard of these.
Donnie had to go home and get his license renewed or something like that. We've also got with us Mr. Reece Howden. I've remembered his last name ever since he told me the first time. I didn't have to ask him twice. He is our newest intern, and we're doing a few short-term interns this summer, and we took him on a tour of the ranch this morning. He got to ride Boone. Took him on the Can-Am. We went about 70 miles down Tack Road wearing our helmets. Safety first, rule number 7. And he's down here in Texas for the first time sweating his buns off.
Yes, sir.
You don't normally sweat this much. That's because you're from where?
Well, I grew up in Canada, Chilliwack, BC, near Vancouver. But yeah, no. I have not been in temperature like this and humidity like this ever in my life. But, I'm getting used to it.
Even right now, it's kind of warm in here.
Even right now, I'm sitting here just got a casual sweat going.
Yes. Right. So we're in the podcast room, the media room, and off in the corner where the podcast stuff is set up, like the AC has a hard time reaching back here. But we can't really complain too loudly because out on the warehouse floor where everyone else is, they have no AC.
Oh, yeah.
So if we complain, they kind of roll their eyes. So you're from Canada. That means you probably do a lot of snow sports.
Yes, sir.
And you've actually done fairly well at skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing. So I'm a member of the Canadian ski cross team. And
which means you went to the what?
I went to the Olympics this year in Beijing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not like your local county fair chicken roping. That's like they play the music. They got their own special ringtone for that one.
Oh yeah. Yep. There are 32 men and women, best in the world in ski cross, and yeah, we brought 4 men and 4 women from Canada, and yeah, it was an amazing event.
So you said ski cross?
Yeah, ski cross.
So what does that mean?
So we got 4 guys in a start gate, and it's a downhill race. So it's similar to, if you're familiar with alpine racing, so like downhill and Super G. But yeah, so you got 4 guys. You start at the top of the mountain, and then you have gate drops. There's a start section, berm, jumps, and all that sort of thing. It's very similar to like motocross, BMX racing, and yeah, it's all heat, like heat racing. So we'll do like semifinals and then move into big finals and stuff like that. And then so you have 4 guys, top 2 move on to the next heat, and yeah, first one to the bottom wins.
Dang. So you each, all 4 of you, race from top to bottom of the mountain.
Yes,
gotcha.
on the same track.
How many, is it all at the same time, or you just time, each person is timed?
So there's 2 ways. So like, because we'll have like a big field to start with, so we'll have like, I don't know, 70 guys, and we do a time trial, and that time trial breaks us down to 32, and we take that group of 32 and we move into heats.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you went to Beijing this year. What was that like?
Yeah, it was wild. The restrictions were not as strict as I was expecting. There was like a mask mandate for sure, and we were testing daily, but we were still able to like, check out some stuff. They had some events that we could do around the Olympic Village and whatnot, and then I got to meet like the whole Canadian national team and stuff like that. It was a little bit tough to like expand out of your country, but other than that, it was. I was happy that they got it off because it was pretty gnarly, and but yeah, China, it was a wild place, man, wild.
Going and being around China, can you just like feel the communism, or is it? I guess do they kind of hide it? I guess in the touristy type towns.
Oh, they kind of hide it, but like this place is different. This place is very different from what you're used to.
Yeah. I mean, people around there, did they feel like, I would assume someone in that country might be just a little more timid than your everyday American.
So it's a very top-down hierarchy. So like people who are like on the lower end, basically you can ask them questions and stuff, and they can give you like nothing because they can't make any sort of decisions without going all the way up to the top, right? So that's pretty wild, the way that, because we had like the Canadian team like came in there first, right, and checked it all out, like the staff, and like they had like I guess you call it like a tour guide, basically was showing them around the Olympic Village and stuff like that, and like they couldn't, like they were asking them, hey, could we go here and stuff, and they're like, oh no, we're not too sure. Then they had this one person that's like, yeah, I know somebody. Like, let me make a call. Made that call, and obviously she knew someone who was way up top, and it just like, it was interesting because like if you don't have someone who has like a lot of power, you can't make decisions. It seems like you can like, these are the restrictions, and these are what they told that they can do with you and what you can do, stuff like that, and they're like, that's it.
Yeah,
they're not making any changes.
Huh. Dang.
But, and then also like they were all wearing like full on like throwaway suits that they were throwing away every day, goggles, masks, and like a suit that had like a hood all the way up to their head. Wow. And then it was just like wearing, like scientist goggles, I guess, and a mask. I think they had like double up too.
Dang.
Like just the everyday civilians.
Every day. Or no, not the civilians, but like every single volunteer.
How much did you interact with like the actual civilian population, or did you only interact with
Nothing.
Olympic staff?
Yeah, that
Dang.
was it.
So you didn't see like a single civilian at all?
I think we could kind of see them when we were driving in.
Okay,
Okay, this was the wild part. So when we first got there, landed off the plane, went into like their testing facility and stuff like that. So you're like, go to a station, they test you, or they do like an ID check, that sort of thing. Get you to where your bags are. We load all the bags up into the bus and sit in the bus for 2 hours just outside the airport, move a little bit, another hour. Then they have it all. Finally, they get all the buses loaded, and we like presidential convoy to the Olympic Village, 4 hours. There was a police like stopping traffic at every single exit on the highway. Every single exit for, I think it was like probably 150 to 180 miles.
Why?
That's just, I guess, what they felt they needed to do. But yeah, they had like stop traffic everywhere. And
you mean like police were like paving the way for y'all to get there?
Yeah. Yeah, so we had like an escort at the front, escort at the back, and then every exit they had a police there.
Was it because they were excited about you guys being there, or they didn't want you going off course?
I don't think it was for our safety. It was for our control of where we are at the whole time. Because I don't think they're worried about the civilian population coming after us or anything like that. I think they just wanted to have complete control of our ability to go anywhere and stuff like that. Because like it was like you're going from the airport to the hotel and you were not stopping. Like,
dang,
not stopping.
That's scary.
But yeah, it was pretty wild.
Everyone participating in the Olympics was in that convoy.
No, that's not that one. So like that was like when we went the first time for the test race before the Olympics, and then with the Olympics, it was similar to that, but it was a little bit more casual.
Okay.
So
because then they had a bunch of eyes on them.
Yeah.
They probably didn't want it to be so obvious that they were.
Yeah. So like during the Olympics, I don't think they had like the exits locked off, but we had like two cop cars in the front, 2 cop cars in the back, and just cruising in the left lane all the way.
Yeah. Dang. I don't know why some people don't want that for our country. I don't know. Just sounds
fun.
So wonderful. Anyway, enough about where you went to the Olympics. Let's just talk about the fact that you went to the Olympics. How'd y'all do?
I did I did all right, I guess. I got 9th, but I went in with high expectations. The year before I had a lot of success. Probably was going in theoretically like the favorite, and I was feeling really good going into the race. Had a really good qualification run. I think I placed 3rd or 4th, something like that.
Yeah.
And then but the big thing was I had like an absolute ripper of a start. Like I was a 10th, so we wear little transponders on our boots. And so we have segments throughout the course. The transponder will give us those section times, right? And we have that during training, quality, race, everything. And so we can look at those times and compare them to the rest of the athletes, right? So I was a 10th ahead of the guy in 2nd every time on the start section. And in ski racing, a 10th is a lot.
Right. Imagine.
I was like, I got this, super stoked. I was coming out there so fast, but I don't know what happened on race day. I just, it was almost like I was going into this one feature a little bit too fast, and I was just missing something. And it was, I got caught in some traffic, so I didn't get out in front. And then was coming into the last turn there, and the guy in first caught like we call like a snow snake, basically like the ski just like caught the snow weird and kind of spun him a bit, and then he went off track. Then I kind of stayed in track and was going to the inside, and then he just like curved back in and cut me off, so I lost some speed, and then I'm like pumping really hard to try and get, because it was on the finish straight, and then actually my teammate Brady Lehman passed me and knocked me out in the quarterfinal. But
dang,
it happens, man. You know, it's like the Olympics is a big deal for us, but you know, it's at the end of the day, like it's just like every other, it's just like every other race. You know, it's and like anything can happen, and
right,
and you know, the best guys in the world are there. So
yeah, some days it's your day, some days it's not.
Yeah.
Huh. So what is it that made you want to come intern for Dale Brisby?
Well, I've been, you know, watching you guys for a while, and looked like a lot of fun, and I've always been super interested in ranching and rodeo stuff. Never really got, at least you could say, like I wasn't born into it, but born into a family of super active individuals, stuff like that, mountain climbers and whatnot, and so. Yeah, I don't know. My brothers and me just kind of got super stoked on Western when we were kids and stuff, and moved to Calgary in I think 2018 or 2017 for training for the ski cross team, and was going to school there. So obviously the Alberta influence is pretty big in the Western side, and I always loved it. It just seemed to kind of attach to it a bit, and yeah. I just saw the opportunity, and right now is like obviously my off season, and I'm like, you know what, let's mix it up a little bit, do something new, and actually, you know, commit to pursuing that, I guess you could call like dream that I always I wanted to pursue, and you know, send in that video, and now we're here.
Yeah. So it kind of, I mean, it was just an interesting asterisk on your resume that caught everybody's eye. It's like, wait, Olympic skier wants to come be an intern. I remember them telling me, I mean, you had a great video too, you know, I mean, that's the main thing. That's what made them watch it and continue watching. But then the fact that, you know, that came in afterwards, it was just like, oh, that's really neat. And, but yeah, so what other ranching experience have you had outside of what you've done this week so far?
Really not too much, other than what I've seen you guys do. And then I've been around a few ranches before, but not really worked them. Yeah, you know, I've been watching Jordan, and she's been teaching me lots, and obviously she's very skilled. And but yeah, honestly, I'm pretty green, but here to work hard and learn as fast as I can.
Yeah, you've been helping feed in the mornings. We took him out this morning, got to get on Boone. Boone got to show him the ropes, and then went to Guacamole on the Can-Am. I don't know if I said, but wearing helmets. I think we topped out 70 on that dirt road, wearing our seatbelts and helmets. Payden, my lawyer, if you're listening. But yeah, so today you're going to be getting on a bull.
Hell yeah.
Is that something you've always wanted to do, or just when in Rome?
No, yes, sir. You know, I've always wanted to get on a bull. And, yeah, I kind of like, there's a few times I was trying to pursue it, and then it just kind of like fell apart, whether I got busy or whatnot. And then it was also, last few years have been like, I was talking with my dad, and he's like, dude, don't touch one of those things until you go to the Olympics. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, dang.
You know, that's, you know, I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Pretty fair, right? So went to the Olympics. It was awesome. And I'm like, then I saw that opportunity. I'm like, you know what? No, if I'm going there, I am not going to be leaving without trying it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to put you on one. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, he's going to turn back to the right. He's going to go out one, and then he's going to turn back to the right. So I'm just going to give you plenty of warning. Man, it seems to me that just from hearing you talk about skiing as a sport and as an Olympic sport and thinking about rodeo, a lot of similarities. Like, you know, it's not a normal organized team sport in the fact that like you rely on your team to complete each play, like, you know, basketball obviously, or football or baseball. You know, it's very similar to rodeo in that like it's you against the mountain, it's you against the bull. So what's it like being on a team like that? Like, because you still have the accountability, I feel like, of like needing to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
But you also just have to perform. It's you against the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it is different, you know, when you have, when you're a team, but you're still an individual sport. Right. And yeah, you know, it is really important to do your part and be part of the team. And then, you know, once you're in the gate or once you're in the chute, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's on you, and you're the one that wants to win. You're the one that wants to be down first or get that good ride. And then with ski cross, it's even like it's even more so aggressive because sometimes your teammate's the guy next to you in the gate, right?
Yeah.
And your teammate's the guy that you're like, you got to beat.
Right.
And you got to beat him at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So that can be, you know, every once in a while, you know, we get, you know, mad at each other and stuff. But like at the end of the day, you're just racing, and usually can brush it off pretty quick. But yeah, no, it is a different, you know, mindset, or it's a lot different than, you know, playing baseball or football where you win as a team and you lose as a team. Well, it's not the case, you know.
Yeah.
One guy wins, everybody else loses.
Right. Yeah, so very similar to rodeo. Like, you know, you'll be traveling with a guy and, you know, you could count that as their team, you know, but you might be going down the road with somebody and you find yourself like competing with that person, you know, that night. You know, sometimes maybe they don't have as good an animal drawn as you do, but other times it's, you know, one of you is winning first and the other one's winning second, or one of you winning and the other one's bucking off or something like that. So with rodeo though, it's crazy. I'm not saying there's not any sort of rivalries. I'm not saying there's certain guys that other guys are itching to beat. Yeah. But for the most part, you know, because we go one at a time, we're not actually, you know, I think OMAC, they used to do that, turn them all out at the same time. But we're going one at a time. So what you could see happen is let's say the bull riding, for instance, at the last year's NFR, you know, Sage Kimsey has had a stellar several years in pro rodeo, and JB Mooney has had a stellar career in the PBR. And so this is his first time to go to the NFR, even though he's a veteran in the sport. So he's at his first NFR competing. Essentially, a lot of people are watching him against Sage. Well, and it may have even happened, I don't remember watching, but like if JB's getting ready and Sage is right there and JB needs help, Sage would help him. And the opposite is true. Like if JB's bull isn't loaded yet, but he's standing on the back of the chutes and Sage needs somebody to pull his rope, like JB's going to do it, or he's going to spot him. And matter of fact, like when the gate opens, they're probably going to yell encouragements at each other, you know? And so that's kind of the nature of the sport. And like I said, I'm not saying there's some people that don't get along, or there's some people that get excited about beating someone else that maybe they've, you know, kind of gone head to head with before. But for the most part, there's a certain camaraderie that comes along with, it's JB against the bull. It's Sage Kimsey against the bull. And each of them knows that. Like, they're not going to compete against each other unless they make a qualified ride. So if they can't ride this bull, then it doesn't matter. So that allows us to kind of distract from being so competitive that we can't be friends.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Or even
like,
or even traveling partners.
Yeah. Yeah. Same like with us, like for the most part, when for the most part, you're not racing your teammates, especially not your first heat.
Because, you're racing the mountain.
Well, you're it's more like you're racing the mountain, but like just with the amount of guys out of 32, you're probably not like you might have one other Canadian guy in your first heat, so like your 8th final, but like so like everybody's kind of like usually spaced out, and you're like so you go, and then you're cheering for your buddy in the next heat, and then you might meet him in the semifinal, and you're like, all right, buddy, let's do this, let's move on together, and honestly, like unless somebody does something dirty to you, like you're and like if they come out and they have a ripper run and they just like they outskied you, they had a great run, and you're like, great run, dude. The only time that it kind of gets like you get mad is like, if you get cut off or somebody pulls dirty stuff, and like it happens a lot for sure.
Right.
But if you ski respectably and you put down good runs, you get respected.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like where you might see guys, I think, where you see guys who get along the least, who might have contention against each other, are even more like bullfighters.
Oh, really?
Because like kind of everybody's trying to get the job, which they're getting paid. Either the stock contractor or the committee is going to pay them to do that job. And so they're not actually technically competing at the rodeo. They're working the rodeo, but they might be competing for a job, much like anybody else in the workforce. Well, you get a lot of bullfighters that aren't crazy about other bullfighters, that talk about undercutting or bidding something for not enough money and ruining it for everybody else, stuff like that. And so it's funny that I think there's less bullfighters than there are contestants, obviously, but per capita, I would say there's probably more like contention between bullfighters than there are like competitors in the events.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was just kind of a side thought. Like you just think about certain guys that most guys are happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
Most guys are good for you if you get it, good for me if I get it, kind of deal. So, but rodeo is it'll teach you a lot about life. It'll teach you a lot about relationships, going down the road. Something about those miles. And that's, Chris Ledoux's song, it's not the years, it's the miles. And something about those miles will help a guy age a little bit more, a little bit ahead of his time. So how many events do you compete in skiing wise throughout the year?
So typically we've been doing somewhere around 14. Usually by the end of the year drops down to like 12 or so, be with weather cancellations and stuff like that. This next year should be wild. They're cranking up to 22 events.
Wow.
Over 14. And actually, I guess it would be 23 because they have a big pro race at the end of the year. But yeah, 23 events between basically the start of November till the end of April. The end of April.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, you're on the road November 1st, and you're actually probably on the road before that because we go over to Europe and train. But you spend a lot of time over in Europe for the most part for us. For the most part, and then kind of on the off season here, we usually do a trip or two somewhere into either like the southern hemisphere or like we were just up in Mount Hood in Oregon, skiing up there, great snow, and then or we'll go out early to the Alps.
Have you skied a lot in the U.S.?
Recently, no, because of COVID and stuff like that. It's just kind of been shut down. But I've raced in Salt Lake City at Solitude for World Champs, and then I've also done a couple races around Silverton near Denver, And
where's the best skiing in the U.S. in your opinion?
Best skiing in the U.S. I grew up actually skiing Mount Baker because I lived right on the border. That's in Washington. Like you go, like from my house, you'd go across the border and you'd be at the hill in like an hour and a half. But that place gets a lot of snow. Lot of snow. Oh yeah, the POW skiing there is sick. But yeah, like Montana's got some great hills too. Big Sky is super popular, and Jackson too. But yeah, if you want big POW, you gotta go to the West Coast.
Growing up in Canada, and I guess that close to a ski resort in the U.S., probably a lot of your friends skied.
Yes.
What is it that set you apart as someone that would eventually go on to the Olympics?
It's a tough question. It's for me, ski cross is kind of like a newer sport.
Or how did you set yourself apart?
Okay.
I guess I should ask.
Sure. All right. So basically, I'll just kind of give you a quick idea of like the development of how you get into what I'm doing now. So, ski cross is an event that you get into when you're like 16 to 18 years old or older. Just because like you need like a certain development of skiing to get to the point where you can actually race that, right?
Yeah.
So like you start out, you race alpine. So that's where you learn to carve and to turn and to generate speed through turns. And if you were interested in getting into ski cross before that, really good idea would be to do alpine and spend a lot of time in the park too. So you're used to hitting big airs, jumps, stuff like that. And, just being comfortable being in the air for a long time or being off balance and things like that. And then you would get into ski cross, and then you're trying to put it all together, right? You got turns, jumps, berms, and then you got to add another aspect. You have 3 other people with you. And kind of what set me apart was I grew up skiing for one, and then I also was a pretty high caliber BMX racer when I was a kid. Went to the Worlds, had the provincial or Western Canada 1 plate on my bike for a while. So I was used to racing guys. Like I was racing 7 other guys on a dirt track when I was, I guess, like probably 6 to 10 years old, 11 years old.
Yeah.
So like I kind of grew up that, and then also I grew up crashing when you ride bikes, right?
Right.
So there's something to be said for knowing how to hit the ground.
100%.
Big time.
100%.
And so big thing for
I'm glad
skiing,
you know that.
Yeah.
About to get on a bull later.
For sure. But so like longevity in skiing is a big one. Like, cause you probably find it in bull riding too. There's some people that it feels like it doesn't matter what they do, they're going to get hurt every 4 months or something. Like they'll heal up and they get back on, and then boom, they're hurt again.
Yes, sir. And
some people are just really susceptible to injuries and things like that. And I've always not been one of those people, fortunately. And so having that, I've always been moving forward, not having to do a whole lot of rehab during the season and stuff. I've never missed a season of skiing.
Yes, sir.
Ever. And so when I got into ski cross, I got in at the right time. It just worked out. So I got in, went right to the Youth Olympic Games. I had very little ski cross experience because I was young and there wasn't a whole lot of depth in the younger ski cross field. So I went there. I actually did win gold medal there. So that was pretty wild. And then ever since then, I was on like the Canadian ski cross team, getting funding, and 16 years old. It wasn't much, but you're getting paid to ski, basically, right?
Right.
So that was wild. And because I was 17, 18 years old, I was the youngest guy on the team, and everybody else was like, early 20s on like the development team, and then the older guys were all 28 to 36 basically. Yeah. Right. So I was getting my ass kicked for the first year and a half for sure, and for probably first 2 years. So I was just getting wrecked by these guys. And so I'm like, okay, well, obviously need to start doing what they're doing. So when you're losing that much, you end up learning really fast is what I found. And so I was just, I was skiing, I get a little closer, and then I started to beat this guy. now I'm in the mix, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm, move in a little. Now I'm like mid-pack. And I'm just was competing with those guys. And I was also pretty big then too. So I was a strong kid, young, and I also really had a good feel on my skis. So like I was able to glide really well. So like honestly, I've never, like if you could put anybody in the world, I feel like you could put them next to me on a glide track, and unless they're like a World Cup downhill skier, there's no chance. And I bet you I'd get 50% of the downhill skiers.
Dang.
I don't know. It's just like, in downhill too, some guys, because I've never been a good turner, but some guys, you just put them on skis and they can just go.
Yeah. So my old man was an ag teacher, and every year we would go on a ski trip. We would do fundraisers. We'd go on a ski trip every year. We go to Eagle's Nest.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I could remember that man's name at that lodge. We would stay in Eagle's Nest, and then we would drive over to Angel Fire. We'd go to Taos. It's in New Mexico, and probably pretty crummy skiing compared to what you're used to. But we would do that every year, and I skied for the most part, and then I was switched over to boarding at some point, and kept going in college, missed a couple years, and then now I go every year to Music Fest.
Okay.
It's in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. They a lot of Texas country bands go up there and play, and 4-day deal, and I'll typically board. But anyhow, for most of the years of my life, I get to go once a year for 3 or 4 days. I think one time I went twice in a year, maybe one time. But it's always pretty fun. And, maybe the third or fourth day on those 4-day trips, like about the fourth day, I may not go the whole day.
Yeah.
And so I've never really had to think about it till just now. But like I imagine if you grew up in Canada, grew up close to a ski resort, you're going to the Olympics, there's probably plenty of days where it wasn't fun for you.
Yeah.
But it was a grind. Like I'm not saying you didn't want to be there. I'm not saying you're not passionate about it, but like it's not like you go out every day like you're with your college buddies and it's your first time to ski for a year and you're there's probably some days towards the end of the year where it's like, all right, I got to go do this and work at it because I want to go to the Olympics, not because, while I do enjoy going down the mountain, like, to be honest, I'd rather throw up than go down the mountain right now.
Yeah.
Like, were there days like that?
Oh, for sure. And like, obviously with rodeo too, outside sport, unless you're indoor, but when you grab your skis and the weather is brutal in terms of either it's cold, raining, socked in where you can't see or things like that, and you still got to put, usually we go up with like a few pairs of skis. So you're putting 100 pounds on your back, and depending on where you're going, you're going to slog that up to the hill. And then sometimes
there's not always lifts.
Well, there might be lifts, but like this one place that we go in Switzerland, if you're not staying right next to the hill, you got like, half mile, 3/4 of mile walk with like 70 to 100 pounds on your back.
Dang.
That is not super comfortable to carry. Get to the hill, and you got to carry it all into the tram, go up the next tram, standing the whole way. Then you walk to the next tram. And then you get up to this one spot and you got to walk, a quarter, like probably, maybe not a quarter mile, but like 300 or 400 yards into the mountain, get on this train, go up there. And by then you're like, your shoulders are like done from carrying the skis on your shoulders. You got bruises on your collarbone. And you're like, okay, now I got to put my boots on. They got cold now, so it's going to hurt my feet. And then you go outside, and it's like, if it's a great day, sweet. Or, it can totally be a grind. The weather can be a factor for a big time. If it's minus 30, minus 35, it is really tough to get good runs in.
Yeah.
And like, fortunately for me, I usually don't have too much of a problem, like staying warm. But, people get frostbite all the time on their toes. I actually had a buddy this year that you just kind of, it was weird. Like he said he got frostbite really bad. Like he was in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, almost lost like all his toes. And he but he couldn't really tell. Like they some guys, they just go numb. And then after they're numb, you don't know. And if you push it a little bit too much,
he did lose him
almost.
Dang.
But like he did it in like December, and he's just able to leave the house like a month and a half ago. Yeah.
What do you mean just able to leave the house? Why would you not be able to leave the house?
Like it's too cold outside to leave the house.
Oh, and if they get even cold, get cold again,
it's brutal. So I remember going into his place and I'm like, dude, how are you living like this? Like it's 25 degrees Celsius, but like it was way too hot in the house for me. He's like, man, like this is how it has to be.
Dang.
So that was wild. But yeah, it can totally be a grind, just like anything. And but once you're on track and stuff, it's good.
Yeah.
But it takes some time to get there sometimes. And if it's cold, it sucks, or if it's raining, it sucks. And it's all about put in work and getting those miles in, right?
Right. Yeah. So you probably, there's probably not like the stuff we see on Instagram or TikTok, like just people dropping out of helicopters, going down like the steep stuff, like that's your everyday.
Yeah, well, I haven't been in a helicopter. Actually,
but I'm saying like that sort of downhill, like straight off the face stuff the kind of stuff Stace Smith tries to take me on. Stace Smith is a stock contractor, like 20 times stock contractor of the year, some crazy stuff like that. He's a longtime friend of mine. Anyhow, in Denver, they have, during the Denver Rodeo, they'll have the Cowboy Downhill, which is in Steamboat Springs. And he's also been to, I've been there at the same time as Stace, and then also he's come out to Steamboat during the music fest. Anyways, if you go skiing with this joker, both his kids are like professional skiers pretty much. And he will try to take, just come with me. And I found myself on a board on a black, straight down, double black diamond, terrified, hanging off the side of this mountain. I feel like that's what you would be like.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you see those videos of guys like doing those like just gnarly lines on this big exposed slope and stuff, there's a lot more than just getting up there and doing it. One, if they're helicopter guys and if they're like pros, odds are they have like an avalanche expert at the bottom that has actually dug pits and actually taken like, he's checked the snow out. He tells them if it's like, this is the chances of a slide, today it'd probably be fine. Or today it's like he goes and digs the pit and he's like, no, we're not touching this mountain today.
Dang.
Like once you get in like the
so you don't just go up there and go.
Oh no, like for us when we're training for skiing for like racing, yeah, we don't really have those problems. The ski patrollers will cover it, and if we have like a big dump of snow, sometimes they'll hold the lift, and they'll do bombing and stuff like that. But like when you watch those guys doing those big backcountry lines and stuff, like they are seriously putting their life on the line, and then also there usually is like a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on. Like avalanches are.
I guess there's some horror stories of some guys losing their lives.
Oh yeah, lots. It's if you do that stuff for a while, it's there's a high chance you're gonna get.
If you don't know somebody, you know somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah, and odds are you know somebody.
And odds are you just know somebody.
Yeah,
yeah. So that's kind of the same thing with bull riding. We're gonna make a bull riding video. I made a video a few times how to get started ranching, and we're gonna make one how to get started riding bulls. And there's a lot of things we're going to talk about: equipment, practice pins, rodeo schools, and we're going to talk about actual practice pins and rodeo schools that you can go to, like addresses, towns that they're in, dates, etc. So we're going to give a lot of information. But at the beginning, I'm going to do a little disclaimer talking about like, hey, you could die.
Yeah,
for sure. Like you could die. You could get seriously injured. And I'm going to basically try to talk people out of it. Because same thing, when you're in this sport, you either know someone or you know someone that died.
Yeah.
And I know someone that died, and then I know someone that knows 2 or 3 people that have died. And then the sometimes for some people even scarier part are some of the serious injuries that can occur. Those things happen, and while it's kind of a morbid thought, it's also reality, and I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention the fact that it's a possibility. Same thing with skiing. Like, man, you can really mess yourself up, especially like it seems so simple. Like it just seems so simple. I remember on a board one year, I was like, I'm just trying to stay up, and I was kind of cutting across this downhill deal at an angle just because I don't want to go straight down. And this old man came, and we collided, and not really anybody's fault. I'm sure he thought it was my fault just because I'm on a board and he's on skis, and most of the time skiers hate boarders. But this old man broke his arm, like snapped it.
Yeah.
And I was going to go with him, but he was like mad at me, and I knew it wasn't really just 100% my fault. Like, we were both at fault. And so, like, I didn't go with him just because it wasn't going to be good, that I did. But, yeah, that was on a green.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, like even taking avalanches out of the equation, trees. Like,
man.
Like there's a few spots that we train that, you have the run, and then you have, a little bit of like groomer chop or like something, and then it's just like bungee sticks, I like to call them. And like we've had one of my teammates have went into the trees before, and he survived, but like I think he broke his back.
Dang.
And it was pretty bad. And then like, I know of racers that have died that have hit the trees just free skiing.
Wow.
Not even racing, just free skiing. You hip slide. The crash is not bad at all. Like basically a hip slide is just like I said, you just like lose your outside skiing. You start sliding, you kind of lose control. And if you do that and you go into the trees, like if you're moving, you can get really messed up. Really messed up.
Yeah. When Daddy goes into the trees, like I might just come to a stop because I'm going so slow.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So, but unless you're with Stay Smith, which anyway. So what we normally do is we have some sort of like life advice at the end of these. But I mean, I'm not saying you only have 60 seconds. Like, you can expand on it as much as you'd like, but just, I don't know, maybe keeping in mind what you know about skiing and now the glimpse you've had into rodeo. What advice would you give a young up and comer in either sport?
Yeah, all I would say is do your research and know what you're getting into, and if you actually have an idea of what you're doing, consequences, and like also how to eliminate those consequences. And there's a lot of ways to do it, like we're doing, getting on the buck right and stuff like that.
Right.
Same with skiing, putting yourself in a situation where injuries are minimal, stuff like that. Don't try to keep from leaving your comfort zone.
Yep.
Until you're ready to, right? I've been skiing since I was 2 years old, 23 years old now, and it's easier than walking at this point, right? So
yeah,
it takes a long time. Bull riding, same thing. It takes a long time, and it takes you got to do it to get better. So yeah, you got to try not to rush into things, because that's how people get hurt, and that's the same thing for like for ski cross. When we put people on those big tracks before they're ready, they get hurt, and they get hurt bad because they just don't know what they're getting into. And
yeah.
And like I said before, you got to know how to crash.
Right.
You got to know how to crash.
Man, I been listening to a lot of Cameron Haynes for a while, but also Goggins. And then last night I was watching that new Adam Sandler movie, Hustle. It's a basketball movie. And he brought up the word, they've all three, and then somebody else I remember was talking about just the word obsessed. And I like that word a little more so than just like work ethic.
Yeah.
You know, and the context he was using it in last night is obsession beats talent. And I guess I could relate to that, you know, looking back at my life, is just because, you know, anything I ever had, I had to work for, you know.
Talent will only get you so far.
Exactly. Yeah, you kind of got to obsess about it. Something tells me if you're in the Olympics, you've obsessed a little.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Willie, what about you? What's your story, man? What's been going on in Willie world?
In Willie world? Oh, not much.
Into the mic, please.
Sorry, I should have known that. Not much. I've been pretty happy. Just living the dream.
In the flea market.
In the flea market.
You're selling the van.
I was thinking about it, yeah.
Oh, you're not sure?
Oh, no, it's on Marketplace currently.
So you're thinking about it. You put it on Marketplace.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to bring the heat, though.
Yeah, someone's going to have to bring the heat.
The cash.
It's a collectible, you know. It's a rare.
Are you going to buy the
vehicle.
deluxe back from me if you sell it?
Now that you mentioned it, I was thinking about it now.
Yeah.
It's entertaining
He
the
sees
thought.
me driving that thing around. He's
It's
getting
like,
a little jealous.
dang.
Did it
I
make you
forgot.
feel a little jelly? A little peanut butter and jelly watching Reece drive around the deluxe?
It really started with these gas prices, and then realizing that the deluxe has better gas mileage than the van.
Not by much, but a little
Not by
bit
much, but enough to
matter.
$5 a gallon. That's all. Every gallon counts now.
Yeah. What is it in Canada?
The conversion would probably be somewhere around definitely over $6 a liter
Yeah.
to $6.50 probably, or $6 a gallon to $6.50.
Yeah.
But like even probably knocking on the door of $7 in the city.
Yeah.
Dang.
Well, yeah, like it's $5 will get you 2 liters of diesel in Canada right now.
Well, Justin and Joe are going to save us, guys. They're going to save us.
I think so. Maybe. I don't know. Justin's been there a long time. He's been there going on like 6 years now.
I'm the guy. I start talking, and you're like, wait a second. Is he telling a joke, or is this a real story? And you never know. That's where I like to live. Right there. You never
Mystery
know.
zone.
Kind of like when you're tipping your chair back and you're in that mid spot. You don't know if you're going to fall or if it just feels good.
Yeah.
That's
the
where
Brisby zone.
that's the Brisby zone.
That's the Brisby zone right there.
Yeah, you've heard about the Mooney zone? Well, that's the Brisby zone.
I like that.
Yeah, me
So.
too. That's good.
What kind of life advice you got, Willie?
I'm gonna go with just keep going. You just gotta keep trucking. It's gonna be it. Life's gonna get hard sometimes, or you're gonna have a tough time with stuff. You gotta keep trucking.
Yeah.
God will take care of the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say make wise decisions. So, yeah, talking to a friend, and they've got a friend that made some bad decisions, and those bad decisions are yielding some bad results, and they're like, why me? You know? And it's like, man, you kind of got to make good decisions. And then sometimes you make good decisions, and you know there's still negative things that happen, but once you live through those and you push through it, I mean, you can't control what you can't control, but you reap what you sow. And so if you continue to make good decisions, eventually they're going to yield positive results. But there's things like the weather and the economy and certain leaders making decisions like Justin and Joe that we may not have control over. Well, there's no use in worrying about that. So let's focus on what we can control, which is the decisions we make. We make choices, and our choices make us. And my pastor told me, he said, don't ask yourself. He actually said this in a sermon, but he was talking to me. I was actually listening to it online while I was moving some hay in a tractor, but I know he was talking to me.
Right.
Anyway, he said, don't ask yourself, is this right or is this wrong? Ask yourself, is this wise? You know, because you can ask when you ask yourself, is this right or is this wrong? The answer could be either one. Like, no, it's not wrong, but it could also be not wise. And we've used the analogy here, like a lot of these guys are wanting to be bull riders, like there's a lot of things they could do, for instance, with their money that is not wrong. But if they're wanting to ride bulls, then it may not be wise to either, because they're going to need money to go down the road. Same thing with workouts or getting on the buck ride. Is it wrong to skip getting on the buck ride on this random Saturday afternoon and they just watch a movie? Well, no, it's not wrong, but it's also not wise. And so I think if you can add up those small, wise decisions every single day, then eventually they'll yield positive results. And the problem is they don't yield those results that quickly. You can see the benefit of being lazy on that Saturday afternoon. Like, all right, well, this is going to be easier to watch this movie and lay on the couch. So you can see the benefit to that. If you get on the buck ride on a Saturday afternoon, you can't necessarily, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to ride your bull better. Well, does it prepare you better? Absolutely. If you do it a bunch over time and compounds it and you get great at the fundamentals, is that going to make you a better bull rider? Absolutely. Give you a better chance of winning a check and putting the gold buckle on your belt that you're aiming to win? Absolutely. But there's no guarantee and you can't see it. And so sometimes when you can't see that thing right in front of you, it makes it hard for people to make the wise decision. Well, that's why you've got to have that vision. When you can lock in that vision in your brain and you can picture it and you can see it, and then you get obsessed about it in a healthy manner where you don't let anything else come in front of it. And then you got to have your priorities really tapped in and screwed in tight. So like God, family, these certain relationships I'm not going to put before this gold buckle or this Olympic medal. But if it's not those things, then like, and there's, I'm sure, you're interning for Dale Brisby right now. You're an Olympic athlete. Like, you're still able to live a life. There's seasons where you got to be, and I mean seasons of life, not seasons of nature and seasons of skiing, but there's seasons where you got to be focused in on it and you wouldn't have time to, but you can be obsessed about something and still live a life. So I don't want people to take this word obsession too literal, where it means that like they can't have a spouse, they can't have a religion, or that is their religion. That's not what I mean. I just mean that like it's more than just something you work hard at. So anyhow, that's been there's certain things that come along that, like you said, God has control over, and we can only control what we can control. The other day, Tandy cleared me to ride again. My collarbone, I had surgery, and I took my time rehabbing it because I broke it 3 times, finally had the surgery, and I'm like, I'm going to do it right. Felt strong. Got an x-ray, sent it to Tandy. Tandy's like, you're good, my man. Feeling strong. Couple weeks goes by, and I'm still in the gym getting better, and I'm like, I'm gonna get on next week. And I was like, I'm gonna wait one more week, just really do some drills, keep running, do my exercise. And Willie got hung up, jumped in there where I could hang up, grabbed the tail, jump to push the tail over the top of his hand, hung on to the tail a little too long. Bull kicked my leg while I'm over the top of his back with my right arm. When he kicked my leg, it knocked me down. I'm still holding onto the rope. Then he kicks his hind end straight up, pops my shoulder out for the second time. I dislocated it like 6 years ago. So anyways, now I'm back out for a little bit. But, it was like, it's all part of God's plan. Like, I'm not going to not go in there. We buck bulls every day. It's rodeo. You know what I mean? It's not Willie's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's just one of those things that, the weather kind of happened that day. It's one of those, matter of fact, it's absolutely my fault. Talking to Cody Webster, the GOAT of bullfighting, he was like, man, you really got to you didn't have your chest up against that bull rope working it. I kind of had a little too much. There was about 8-9 inches of distance between that bull and my chest. And so if I'd have been up closer to him, I would have not gotten stepped on.
Yeah.
So kind of like offense is the best defense.
Yeah, those bulls fighters get like on the bull.
Right. And I had jumped up there a couple times. Like I'm not being timid about it, but I'm not as well practiced at it as Cody Webster, the GOAT. You know, like I'm definitely, you can tell, like I've definitely been next to one before, but not, you know, I don't look like a professional. I look like a fellow bull rider trying to work a hang up.
I feel pretty confident getting on anything if you're in there.
Well, I appreciate that.
With my limited experience bull riding.
Yeah.
Very limited, but.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, you're doing good. All you guys are doing good. But anyhow, that's just one of those little things for me. It was like, all right, God hit pause again, you know? And so it sucks in the immediate. It sucks for like 72 hours after. And then you just realize like, all right, well, this is the path I'm on. And now I can only control what I can control. And so you move forward from there. Anyway, I didn't mean for my life advice to
I like that.
Take 7.5 minutes for you guys. But thank you guys for listening. Please watch out for Reece's story here at Rodeo Time at Winnebago for the foreseeable future. He's going to be here for a few weeks, hanging out, learning about ranching, rodeoing. We're going to do some social media talk with him. Please follow him on all things social media. We will drop his @ in the description of each one of these, whether you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. And then check us out, dalebrisby.com. We got all the new stuff coming in real soon, the stuff I'm wearing. Probably got about at least a dozen new hat styles coming this summer, later in the summer. Half a dozen new shirt styles. Actually, probably about a dozen shirt styles too. So we got a lot of new stuff coming in. Some fire. Some heaters coming in. Some hitters. We got some hitters. So check us out, dalebrisby.com. Do you know how to run that?
Yeah, it's
I think it's the top left, maybe?
Top left.
There it is. All right, we're on to the next one. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Reece, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.